Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Smith Wesson M&P 1522, which is my recommendation for the first rifle to buy if you're looking to get into tactical shooting. Now, in the title of my video, I described the M&P 1522 as the best choice for a first gun. In actuality, though, when it comes to anything firearms related, there are no absolute bests because personal preference is such an important factor, and only Sith deal in absolutes, which in and of itself is an absolute statement, so saying so would be oxymoronic. And even then, Sith wouldn't use firearms because they consider them to be too clumsy and random. But moving on, there are several good choices for a first rifle, namely the Ruger 1022. But for most of my subscribers who are looking to buy the type of rifles they generally see on my channel, the M&P 1522 is going to be an outstanding rifle to introduce you to shooting. It is a lot more efficient to learn how to shoot on a rimfire cartridge like the 22 long rifle than on a centerfire cartridge like the 223 Remington because it's a lot more economical to shoot 22. This entire bucket of 1,400 rounds costs $70, whereas Wolf Gold 223 is generally the cheapest you're going to find 223 for, and it's 28 to 30 cents per shot. Also, even though 223 doesn't have a whole lot of recoil, it does have a lot of concussion and noise. And those two things can be very distracting to you if you're trying to dial in your basic mechanics. It's easier to learn good habits than to correct bad habits that you may develop. Shooting 22, you don't have to deal with things like noise, recoil, or concussion, so you can really focus on dialing in your good mechanics like trigger pull, follow through, sight alignment, breathing, and stance. Even professional shooters still do a lot of 22 shooting and dry firing. There is no shooter on this planet who is above shooting 22, and there is no shooter on this planet who cannot benefit from shooting 22 every now and then. 22 long rifle is the ultimate common denominator among shooters. If you can't do the basics with 22 long rifle, you're not going to be able to do the basics with 223 Remington. Even though I have a lot of full-size tactical rifles, I still shoot my 22 long rifle very frequently. I got my M&P 1522 from Palmetto State Armory. They were selling the threaded barrel model for $299, so if you're looking for a good deal on the M&P 1522, check Palmetto State Armory frequently because they have these sales every now and then. It didn't come with the Magpul folding sights though. These were just ones that I had in my parts kit. It came with the standard metal M&P sights, and these are pretty high quality sights. It mimics the sight picture of the fixed carry handle M16 and M4, but the aperture is flippable like that on a carry handle, and it's individually adjustable for windage and elevation. So the stock sights it comes with were very nice, but I just wanted to use the Magpul ones. It also didn't come with the Bushnell red dot sight or the Magpul angled grip, but we're going to talk about accessories later on. The M&P 1522 is modeled after the AR-15, and it shares many of the controls and features. The safety selector switch is in the same position as the AR-15. The charging handle is located directly behind the upper receiver like you would find on an AR-15. You also have a bolt catch. The bolt will lock back after the last shot has been fired, and the mag release is in the same position. Picatinny rail on the handguard and on the upper receiver is completely in spec with 1913 specifications, so you can attach any Picatinny compatible accessories and optics. If you want to use a vertical grip, you can do that. This one is by Magpul, or this one is by AB Arms. So if you have some vertical grips lying around in storage you're not really using, you can try them on your M&P 1522, but just not all at once, please. And the stock that comes with the base model of the M&P 1522 is the M4 variant, but you can remove that and attach any AR platform compatible stock like the Magpul MOE. The pistol grip is the standard A2 grip, but you can also switch this out for any compatible grips like the MOE grip. Smith & Wesson also sells a model of the M&P 1522 that comes with Magpul furniture pre-installed, like the pistol grip, the stock, and the sights, and rail covers, but I personally wouldn't pay that much money for just some furniture on a 22. So no, to each his or her own. If you want to buy the Magpul edition, then that's on you. You can always move the Magpul accessories over to a larger rifle if you find that you're finished shooting 22. But I guarantee once you buy an M&P 1522, you're going to want to keep it. You're not going to want to sell it back. Like I mentioned earlier, even with all the rifles that I have, I still bring my 22 to the range almost every trip. So moving on, I'm going to go ahead and compare the M&P 1522 to a mil-spec paperweight, and as you can see, the dimensions almost match completely. The largest glaring difference is that the bolt catch on the 1522 is a little bit closer to the muzzle than that on the mil-spec lower, so you're not going to be able to run a Magpul bolt assist lever thingy. But I do believe that the safety selector switch can be switched to an ambi one if you have one laying around and want to swap it out. And the mag release, since it's the same as that on the AR-15, you could run a laser engraved magazine catch if you want. Amazon has a lot of different styles. I have one that says Zombie Outbreak Response Team. There's some with also Bible verses inscribed on them, so you can swap that out if it floats your boat. What I find really cool about how the 1522 is set up is that the trigger pin size and spacing is the exact same in specification as that of an AR-15 trigger, so you can put in old mil-spec triggers like the Colt trigger that I think I will swap out the M&P 1522 stock trigger for, so I can really replicate the feel of a mil-spec trigger. Subjectively, I do think that the 1522 trigger is better than the standard mil-spec trigger. It does break about 1 to 2 pounds lighter, and of course that is subjective. I don't have a trigger scale to measure. So to replicate the feel of a mil-spec trigger, I will put my Colt trigger pack into the M&P 1522. Another glaring difference of the M&P 1522 lower receiver is that it is incapable of accepting Magpul brand high-capacity assault clips or any other AR spec magazines. I'll break down the rifle to show you another major difference. Wait, I have to slam the bolt first. The buffer tube doesn't actually contain a buffer or return spring because it doesn't need one with the power of the 22 long rifle cartridge. I'm going to take it down to show you the bolt and carrier and the adorably cute charging handle. So yeah, that is pretty much the field strip of the 1522. And my fingers are dirty already. I do clean the barrel of the 1522 a lot more often than I clean barrels on any of my centerfire rifles because 22 burns very dirtily. Rimfire, cartridge, ignition is very inefficient compared to the primers on centerfire rifles. So you're going to get a lot more residue and byproduct in your barrel. The 1522 magazines are going to be very reliable, but only if you are careful in loading them. Loading them one by one is still the most reliable method. It's very tempting with the load assist button to just pull it down and just start dropping everything in. But doing that is a really good way to create jams and problems for you later on. So let me just load a few more and show you how the rounds are supposed to properly stagger. A properly loaded magazine is supposed to look like that, with the nose of the rounds staggered in this configuration. You could just like pull the load assist button slightly and rack it a few times to make sure they all fall into place if you're not sure whether you loaded it properly, but you shouldn't have very many problems if you're careful with loading everything one by one instead of just pulling down the load assist button and dropping rounds in. The rifle is as accurate as I need it to be. I haven't done a lot of accuracy testing because accuracy of 22s really, a lot of it really depends on the quality of ammo. There is such a large variance in 22 performance based on the type of ammo that you use, but I've done CCI subsonics, I've done CCI standard velocity, CCI high velocity, Obviously this Remington bucket of bullets, high velocity stuff. I've done Aguila, match, I've done Aguila pistol. So I haven't had any problems with any ammo. I did have one light strike on the Aguila ammo, but I think that was a fluke and really not the fault of the rifle. It happens with 22 ammo sometimes. Rim firing is still not very efficient, but it's cheap and that's why we like it. So this rifle will be as accurate as it needs to be for your purposes in shooting a carbine style tactical rifle. If you really wanted a precision 22, then you would have gone for a Savage Mark II or a Ruger American, which are both action 22s. The optic that I have on my 1522 is a Bushnell TRS 25. It's one of the better optics under $100. I got mine from Palmetto State Armory for $60 with the lower third co-witness riser mount. And just as a suggestion to Palmetto, not that they needed the sales, but because the optic and the rifle go hand in hand so well, that you may want to start selling these as a bundle. And let me turn off this light so that you can try to see the red dot. Can you see it? Well, you can see it reflected in the glass. Okay, so yeah, there's a red dot. But these two items go hand in hand so well that it'd be a really good idea to sell them as a bundle. But once you decide to get your first 223 AR, you can move this optic over to the 223 AR and it'll perform just fine. The sights that I have are the Magpul M-Bus flip-up backup sights. They're polymer, and you know, these are just what I had in my parts kit. And I really like these. I really like these as a flip-up sight. I use these on my full cartridge rifles all the time. But, oh, and in case I forgot to mention, this gun is mostly polymer. Everything except like the barrel and the bolt and the inner parts are pretty much plastic. The flash hider that it comes with isn't completely mil-spec. A mil-spec flash hider wouldn't have holes on the bottom. So this bothers me more than it should. If you want, if you have some muzzle brakes lying around, you can thread them on. It carries the same thread as an AR, and if you have a 22 pistol suppressor, then it will perform fantastically on this rifle. But in summary, the M&P 1522 is an excellent rifle to use as an introduction to learning more about tactical rifles. My name is David, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave a question in the comment section below if I forgot to cover anything that you have questions about, and I will see you next video.